Welcome, everybody. My name is Katie Spradley. I'm from the Tamer Center for Social Enterprise. Welcome to the Social Venture Pitch Competition. Tonight's competition is focused on the elevator pitch, so it is a rapid-paced pitch. Each contestant will have 90 seconds to pitch, and that will be followed by questions from each of our 3 judges, and that will go up to 2 minutes. So the answers to those questions also are recommended to be concise. We had an overwhelming response. So we have 11 participants tonight, which is really exciting, but just know contestants that at 90 seconds, I will be cutting you off, and that is not to be rude, but it is to keep us moving forward. Ooh, there we go. Diana, thank you. The agenda, actually, Diana, could you go to the introduction screen, please? Thanks, okay. So each contestant will be evaluated on 3 criteria: the quality of the pitch, presentation skills, the quality of the business idea, and the quality of the potential impact, because after all, this is a social venture pitch competition. The scale will be 1 to 5 for each of the 3 criteria, and 5 is the best. So contestants, administratively, in the chat box for all contestants, you will be able to see the lineup, and we'll call your venture and your name. And just please be ready to take yourselves off mic and turn on your camera and turn on your mic when you are next in line to pitch. After the final pitch, I will review the judges' tallies, and no one's going to really see all of the numbers, but I will announce the first and second place, and then I will turn over the floor to the judges for some final feedback for the pitchers and for any rising entrepreneurs out there who want to maybe participate in the next pitch competition. Viewers, welcome. We hope you're motivated and inspired. And lastly, I'd like to introduce our judges. We have Manal Kahi, who is co-founder and CEO of Eat Offbeat, which is a portfolio venture of the Tamer Fund. We have Keith Katz, who is the founder of Execution Labs and also an advisor to the Tamer Social Venture Network. And Elizabeth Suda, who is the co-founder and CEO of Article 22, a new join to the Tamer Fund portfolio. And I'll let you all introduce yourselves for a moment, and then we can get started. Go ahead, Keith.
Hey, everybody. Just to keep it brief, I did graduate from Columbia Business School a while back. I have founded a handful of companies. I've also worked at some other early stage startups at the executive level. And I've also been an investor, having invested in a couple of dozen companies at the seed stage also. So that's my background. I look forward to hearing you guys pitch today.
Go ahead, Elizabeth, yeah.
Sure. Hi, thanks for having me. And I am in the first year as a Tamer fellow. So it's been really wonderful. We have a team that's fairly diverse, including a Columbia Business School graduate. I myself am not. I got my start in fashion at Coach in the merchandising department, segued a little bit into international development, marketing, and then founded Article 22, which upcycles Vietnam War shrapnel into jewelry that is sold around the world, and each piece helps clear unexploded bombs from the land. So I'm very interested to hear about how these new business models are going to be taking on different aspects of sustainability and changing the world.
And Manal.
Hi everyone, my name is Manal. I'm the co-founder and CEO at Eat Offbeat. We are a catering company that delivers authentic meals entirely conceived, prepared, and delivered by refugees resettled here in New York City. I graduated from the School of International Public Affairs back in 2015. And before that, I used to work in environmental consulting in the Middle East. I am originally from Lebanon myself. So I'm mostly involved right now, in running the business. So a bit of my areas of expertise, I would say, are impact and specifically food, but I also have some knowledge of the environmental and energy field from prior careers, and I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas.
And of note, first place is going to win a week's worth of Eat Offbeat home delivery. And second place is going to win half a week of Ox Verte, which is also another home delivery food service. So very exciting. And just so you all know, for ease of responses, the judges are going to each ask a question in the same order every time: Keith, Elizabeth, and Manal. And so that's a nice signal for the next pitcher that when Manal is asking a question, you can get ready for your pitch. So without further ado, let's get started. So let's bring up Michelle Kurian with the Harvest Fund. Michelle.
Yep.
Hi.
I'm here. Ready?
Yes. Are you able to take yourself off on video, or are you saying?
Oh, there we go.
It's fine.
There we go.
Right.
Okay.
Ready?
Sorry. Yep. Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the co-founder of the Harvest Fund. Now, imagine if somebody told you that you support your family of 5 by farming the dirt outside your home with sporadic rainfall and reused seeds. And so when I realized that there were 1 billion people living this way, I decided to leave my consulting career 6 years ago, and I focused on agricultural development. My business partner has a master's degree in agronomy from Cornell, and we created the Harvest Fund. We knew that there were so many programs out there, but we wanted to create an end-to-end ecosystem that could serve at least 100 million small-scale farmers in the developing world. We have an end-to-end scalable model that targets small-scale farmers, particularly women, and provides them with the technology, financing, and climate-smart agriculture that they need to leave their impoverished lifestyles behind. We've raised $50,000 so far and have launched in Africa, specifically in Zambia. Because the farmers live at the bottom of the pyramid, they're just too impoverished at this point, so that we can provide so we can generate earned income and provide a return to investors. Therefore, we're looking for investors at this point who want to make a real social impact. Those that can take that charitable deduction and know it's going to go somewhere to do more. So for every dollar we invest, there's a 10x return, meaning that that farmer generates 10 times more money. So if you want to chat a little bit more about really making an impact in this world, addressing global population, climate, and hunger issues, let's have a chat and we could talk more about the Harvest Fund and its model.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle. It's good to see you. The addressable market certainly seems big. I had a couple of questions that I'd like you to ask, and I'd like to ask and for you to respond to. One is, you talked about raising $50,000 so far. I'd like to hear where that came from and what that's about, and how you're deploying that. And two, if you could just elaborate a little bit more on the business model. I understand that you're investing in these women and who need to sort of break out of their current situation, and you're providing what exactly, and specifically, how do you as a company get compensated for that?
Are you looking for an answer now or just have feedback?
Yeah, answer would be great.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I wasn't sure if it's just feedback. So the 50,000 was bootstrapped, as well as a generous charitable donor, a big tech company in the Bay Area. I live in San Francisco. The model is services. So we provide training, what's called technical assistance in our sector. Secondly, we also provide, we work with partners, so distributors, to provide the certain innovations such as solar powered irrigation to the women. And then the third is we provide the markets, so from seed to the crop purchases. Now, the earned income will be from partner revenue, so because we're expanding their product portfolio as well as their loan book of loans, and then also services for the farmers that service fees from the farmers that will help offset our costs.
Okay, we have time for 2 very brief questions. Elizabeth, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Sorry. It sounds like you have strong collaborations already integrated into your model. Can you talk a little bit about, like, can you give a clear example of how one of those collaborations works and how reliant you are on that if something was to go wrong?
Yeah. So we actually have connections, through the supply chain with the people who invented products. So for example, one of the things that we're pitching is something called, or that we're actually utilizing is the Future Pump, Lawrence Pump, and Sun Culture. And those are the providers, but the distributor is Zambian, and it is a social enterprise that was launched a decade ago, and they're our partners in place. That's just one of several partners that we have in place to make this happen.
So very, very quickly, I wanted to ask you a bit about what makes you different from other competitors or other people working in the space. Is 1 Acre Fund, for instance, one of your competitors, or can you give us an idea of who more or less you're competing with?
Yeah, okay. There are a lot of peer organizations. One is 1 Acre Fund and one is Bob and Gona. However, I'm glad you brought 1 Acre Fund up. I know them really well because I was a grantor to them. I believe that we take 1 Acre Fund's model and we put it on steroids. So what we do is we focus on innovation, because a lot of my career was focused on these ag tech innovations. So I know they're out there and the cost has gone down, but still not down enough for people that really need them. So we link financing with those innovations to really improve agricultural productivity.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, judges, please tally. And we bring D.I. Lee with articulate essays through storytelling.
Cool. Should I just start whenever?
You are on the clock.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is D.I., and today I will be talking to you about my college essay builder. So the college essay builder is a tool where we help students write their college essays from their initial planning phase all the way to the final edited draft. So as a first-generation immigrant, education has been very important in my life, and I know firsthand how daunting the college application process can be. So I wanted to create something that would help guide students through that difficult process. I decided to focus on the essay because it's the only part of the application where students have complete creative control over how they want to represent themselves to the admissions committee. So with respect to the size of the market, according to the US Census count, there are over 18 million college students in the US. And so that means on average every year, about 4 million students are applying to colleges. So I'm working on this project with my friend. He has over 20 years of experience in this industry. So we are mixing his industry experience with my technical knowledge. We are asking for $50,000 of seed money from an angel investor, and we are planning on launching it this fall, just in time for the college application season. Thank you.
Thank you. Judges?
Thank you for that. So my 2 questions are, one, how is this different from existing services that are out there? There are a bunch of different kinds of college application support services, including essay writing. So that's my first question. And then second, how is this what is the social impact of this? Is this purely for profit, or is there some other layer that I'm missing here?
Yeah, so to answer the first part, I think what our competitive edge is, we are going to do this entirely online. The reason why going online is very important for us is because it allows us to scale this model. And when I look at research of other competitors in the space, they have a lot of generalized paths about what students can take. But with my friend's 20 years of experience, we know what works and what doesn't. So we want to guide the students down that path. With respect to the broader social impact, we are targeting, he and I are both Korean Americans, so we are targeting the Korean American market because for a lot of people, if they are first generation immigrants like I am, it's not as clear what the path they want to take towards applying to colleges can be. And so we want to help bring back that impact to our community.
So I understand the general concept, but I'd love an example of the experience that a student who's looking to apply is going to have when they go through the process, and then how that kind of links to the business model itself in terms of the capital expenses that you need to cover. You know, writing an essay is a very personalized process. So as much as you can have a tech solution, how do you bring the human side and mentoring?
Yeah, definitely. So my business partner, David, has been doing this for a long time, and we learned that he seems to ask all the students the same questions at a certain point. So we wanted to digitize that process of the interviews. So what the experience looks like for a student is if they were to sign up, we mix a bunch of lectures and some exercises to help them get into the mindset of what they want to write about. And then we would start sending them surveys and then tweaking the surveys along the way until we feel that they have the right substance needed to produce a good essay. Of course, this business is impossible without a bit of face-to-face interaction. So we do offer video calling as well to help them feel comfortable with us and working with us.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, a lot of this is going to be based on data collection, data processing, building tech tools. Can you tell us a bit more about your capacity, both as a team, yourself and your partner, in terms of tech? Is any of you a tech co-founder, or are you looking for co-founders who might have?
Yeah, so I am a software engineer full-time, so I am building out all the tech. Just for our minimum viable product, we are going with open source tools, a lot of Google Forms and surveys and sheets. No need to reinvent the wheel there. But that is just for our first version. Both David and I have lots of ideas on what we want to build out. We just want to get to the launch and then see what the initial feedback is to focus on where we want to add more customized tech.
Thank you, Di.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have Jeff Palmer with TBL Tourism.
Hi, everybody. How are you? My name is Jeff Palmer, MBA class of Columbia 2002, and the founder of TBL Tourism. So why is a lifelong hotelier talking to you about creating social, economic, and environmental impact? Well, imagine a hotel whose mission was to do exactly that, a bridge between charitable organizations and consumers. How do we do this? The TBL Foundation, which is a 501c3, owns each of our hotel businesses. It requires one-time capital stack of aligned mission-driven sources, including property grants, land and building grants, capital grants, and government incentives. We are not funded through traditional debt and equity investor structure. So what problems does it solve? Charitable organizations have an ongoing funding source. Consumers get an enhanced product experience at no additional cost. And hotel businesses can operate far more sustainably than ever before. We've launched in Puerto Rico. A local mayor has donated 18 acres of beachfront land. Government incentives account for 40% of our project cost. And we have a partnership with the local Inter-Americana University to develop an academy and internship program. We've got a strong partner ecosystem in place of tourism industry, legal, professional, design and architecture, and NGOs like the Clinton Global Initiative. Hotels have potential to create real impact. TBL will focus on education, community resiliency, social enterprises, and environmental stewardship. We ask for continued support from Columbia and the Taymard Center and capital grants for our pilot location. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Very nice. It feels like there's a lot to unpack here. So my two questions are, could you just speak a little bit more about your source of capital? And I believe that's sort of one of the main differentiators between you and a traditional hotel. And then two, what experience do you or part of your team have in operating hotels? Because it seems to me, no matter how great all the other things are, if you can't operate an amazing hotel, never mind the current macro environment, you're going to be in for a little bit of a struggle. Thanks.
Absolutely, yeah. Great questions. I'll take the second one first, which will lead into your first question. I grew up in hotels. I'm a second-generation hotelier. I actually lived at the Sheraton, New York for 3.5 years as a teenager. I have worked for hotels in 12 countries. I've been a COO, CFO twice, boutique, large scale, startup, millennial, basically every concept that's out there from a hotel point of view, and almost every role. What is unique about TBL is exactly the capital structure. Our capital structure is based on aligned capital, meaning capital sources that also want to create impact with the vehicle of a hotel. So that includes philanthropic donations, actual capital grants from foundations, family funds, and a lot of government support, either through incentives, tax credits, donation of land, donation of buildings. And so that's what really creates the innovative business model behind everything.
Really, really interesting. And the fact that sustainability and going forward is really all about cross-sector collaboration and public-private partnerships. It's impressive. You know, sustainability is in its best form defined kind of as the balance of social, cultural, environmental, and economic. Could you talk a little bit more about just how you view your company in relation to sustainability and how you're measuring your impact?
Absolutely. And I think that is, that's the reason why I became an entrepreneur, because I realized that creating sustainability in existing hotel ownership structures is a challenge. Because there ultimately is a preference for maximizing financial returns. So along with the Columbia degree that I mentioned, I also did a Master of Sustainable Development at HEC in Paris. And for the last 7 years, I've brought in the values of sustainable tourism into existing operating models. Ultimately, you are somewhat constrained on how much impact you can create in terms of the triple bottom line, but please be rest assured that it is in the basis of everything that we do. There are a lot of great best practices that are out there, and many best practices that are limited in their implementation due to their capital structure.
I have two quick questions depending on how much time we have. But first of all, continuing on what you've been mentioning, how is that different from a hotel that has a very strong CSR arm, for instance? Like, how can you expand a bit more about why your social impact is different from that? And second, can you talk a bit more about, from a customer perspective, from a customer experience perspective, what makes it more competitive? What makes it more appealing to a customer?
Great questions.
We have time for a 10-second answer.
10-second answers.
Yes.
Okay, so consumer trends are moving towards becoming more conscious as a whole, and sustainability is at the front of that list. So from our concepts, how we develop and how we market, and how we connect to that experience, that would address your second question. And I've just forgotten on your first question, so I know I'm out of time, but I'd be happy to answer that in more detail.
It was more about the impact, but I guess since we're running out of time, maybe we can.
I'm happy to. It was a great question. I'm happy to answer that when there's time for me. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Saad Ahmed with Tiny Toronto. And just remember, contestants, to try to keep your answers concise. I know it's a tight timeline. We love all the ideas. Just concise. But anyway, Saad.
I can't seem to turn my video on.
That's fine.
Okay.
Are you ready to pitch?
Yes, I am.
Great. Go ahead.
Oh, great.
All right.
So our journey started a few years ago for our company, Tiny Toronto. I traveled through California, Seattle, and Portland, where they were doing backyard homes. And I came back to Toronto thinking that this is about to happen here at some point soon. So our expertise lies in doing urban planning research where these homes could go legally. And these are legal tax-paying dwellings behind an existing primary home. So these are granny flats, coach houses, laneway homes. And our primary target is aging in place for people to be able to age in the backyard. But whatever we talked about wasn't paid attention to in a unique way. But it's very interesting in the last couple of months with the crisis, the long-term care option is not there anymore. People are not planning to move into long-term care after what they're hearing, what's happening there in the crisis. So a lot of people are all of a sudden thinking about alternative plans. And what we did for Toronto is we mapped out 100,000 backyards using GIS technology where these homes could go. And over the years, we learned that there's about a dozen Torontos in the US, like Atlanta, Houston, there's many middle-sized cities. So over the last year and a half, I've been a bit on a tour with the work we did in Toronto between Massachusetts, New York, and California. And California made it legal statewide in January. Ontario did it this December. And Massachusetts and New York are two other states considering the same law change. And our idea is to consult with governments.
I'm sorry, you're at time.
Okay, so I feel like we didn't really get into some of the details there that are important. Right now, it sounds like you're a real estate developer or something. Are you providing the physical structures? So I'm not exactly clear on what you're doing there.
So it's a really early.
So let me, if I can just let me just ask the second question. I'll let you answer both, just for the sake of time, if you don't mind. Thank you. So if you could speak to that first one, and the second. I understand that you're allowing the elderly to sort of age in place. Is that the sort of scope of the impact that you're envisioning, or is there something else?
Yes, the aging in place is the primary impact, and it's much more comprehensive than just the home. It's inclusive of universal design. And just quickly remind me of your first question.
My first question was, I'm not clear on whether or not you are a developer, if you're providing physical structures, and what the model is.
It's a very new law change. The municipalities themselves are not aware of it. So what we do is we provide the planning services to the governments who don't have the technology and wherewithal to do it. So our target market for those are cities that are 30,000 people that don't have their own planning services at the city level, but they have it done at the regional level. And those mid-sized cities are the ones that are welcoming us to provide services to them right away.
So my question is a mix of logistics and incentive. So there are these backyards in these cities. What is the incentive for people who own the buildings and the backyards to offer up their space for these structures?
So there's many models out there, but first off, in expensive cities, people are using it. 80% of the people building it are using it within their family, either for their parents or for their kids, or for their family members. And the next segment is using it for co-purchasing homes. So in expensive cities, people are getting together and purchasing them. And they might have been roommates for 10 years in the same city. So these are alternatives in very expensive centers where there's usually tech jobs.
So, Saad, if I understand correctly, you would be charging middle-sized cities directly for the services. Is that correct? Or who's basically paying for those? Or how are you?
So, for example, our ideal customer that we're working with is Seaside in California, and they have city land that they want to use state funds to pilot our studio, 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom, and they would buy the master plans to make it available to the city residents, and that would showcase our ability. And then we have like a greater ambition of connecting the suppliers and networks. But at this stage, we want to be able to provide the planning services to municipalities that don't know how to get there.
Right. So you're getting paid from municipalities. And can you just talk a bit more about why you need funding in that case? What would you...
We want to be able to organize as a public benefit company because we want to really hold our ethos. We're getting attraction from a lot of high value corporations. But we want to really lock down our mission as a public benefit company to make sure we don't lose the trust with the cities as we go to building the homes.
Thank you, Saad.
Thank you.
All right, we have Satvika Kumar with Baby Needs. I'm sorry if I did not say that name correct.
No, that's perfect.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Satvar Kumar, and I'm a 21-year-old Barnard student. In the US, 4 million babies are born annually, 50% of whom are born to low-resource families. For this population, infant care, as it relates to avoiding supplies like diapers and formula, is really challenging. For one baby, diapers and formula can cost upwards of $100 per month. A huge financial burden, these costs are heightened by issues like access to transportation, welfare, and social safety nets. When moms in particular lack access to affordable, essential supplies, they report higher levels of stress, which can compromise their own and their child's health and development. Nonprofits and local pantries have addressed this issue by providing donations at physical sites. While this is good, moms who are already time constrained need to visit sites in person to check if there are available supplies. There are no easily accessible resources regarding where stockpiles of donated goods are available and where needed goods can be bought at low prices. Our product, Baby Needs, which will be supported by targeted ad revenue, bridges this gap by aggregating relevant data filtered by proximity in an online portal so that moms can identify more affordable resources, save time, and spend less. My background in financial access and my team's background in mental health and medicine ensure that our approach is as robust as possible. As we're developing our prototype, we are requesting $50,000 in funding to support our product scale. I urge you to strongly consider Baby Needs, as investing in this issue means investing in moms and newborns in need. Thank you. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Very tight pitch, super helpful. My big question is around business model. So you're an ad revenue based business model. How do you see the challenges of having an ad-based revenue model when your target is poor families who generally aren't the primary targets of advertisers?
So that's something we've been trying to think about and how to best address. On one hand, we don't really want to we don't want to host ads of really high cost, difficult to access baby products or maternal care products because our target audience can't afford that. So in that stead, and to avoid any conflict of interest in that space, I think what we might employ is more of a general ad-based model. So not just solely focused on maternal or baby care, but it could address any other aspect of their daily lives.
Just to get a better grasp of the business model through kind of a use case of one of these mothers, can you explain a little bit about how that funnel leads to your business model, which is to get a profit?
Yeah. So in terms of the portal itself, it'd be operating on it's sort of like an online search engine specifically for high quality, low cost baby products like diapers or formulas, as well as an opportunity to see if at a local pantry or at a local nonprofit organization where they have physical donated items like diapers or baby formula, how much is there? And if I go right now, will it be there? So it operates both as checking stockpile and finding resources. So in that way, when users are using the search engine, similar to Google or Facebook, we're going to use advertising, what advertising we could be advised on, what would be the best case for our users. But we use advertising so that if it's per click or per view, we would be able to generate revenue from that.
Can you talk a bit about the logistics behind, the entire supply chain? How are you physically doing the inventories with the pantries, or how would that work?
So this sort of ties into how we're planning to build out our product. We want to do a phased development. So let's say we want to start at a county level. Take Fairfax County in Virginia. Specifically in that county, we want to coordinate with local suppliers, whether that's grocery stores that have WIC products for certain diapers or baby formula, as well as local pantries, and work with them and have them buy into our system and have them deliver real-time information about what's in stock there. And based on that, we can provide users in this county in particular real-time aggregated data. And once we've established at a county level, we can expand by state and then later by nation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Next up, we have Minda Aguhab with Vitality Health. Welcome. You ready?
Hi. So thank you all for inviting me here from California during the pandemic. Let me share a story with you. I'm actually from New York City, and I contacted my former research hospital, Woodhull, over in Brooklyn. What do you need right now? So I asked Charmaine. Food, she replied. Not PPE, not the other stuff. Food. So just 2 days later, we had lunches, snacks, and piles of water and face shields for this very poor neighborhood hospital in Brooklyn. So how are we able to do that so quickly? For the past few years, we've been building a network of communities on Vitality, making it an easy way to collectively gather caring services for people. So I helped people during Hurricane Sandy, saw a lot of this miraculous work happen through people working together. And I think people don't realize that when you connect with your own network, you get incredible network effects. And sometimes we don't realize that the incredible power we have until we are here at a time and moment like this. So with our mobile platform for co-caring, collective caring, Vitality is making positive, helpful networking for health and caring even more powerful and widespread. So going to your network to give or receive help has more life-changing and transformative positive impact on people's lives than is already happening. We're bringing online all of that incredible, helpful energy. Our solution is a freemium and paid community network, bi-monthly subscription, and also freemium that efficiently connects users with volunteers, organizations, and paid services powered by AI and people who care.
Thank you, Minda, for your time.
You're welcome.
It sounds amazing. My question is, you started touching on at the end. You have a monthly prescription, monthly subscription. So I'm confused as to who is paying for this. And then my sort of the more general question is, right now it sounds like you have this amazing opportunity for this great nonprofit. How is this a business that scales at a venture level?
Okay, well, we've been working on this issue long before COVID. Our target markets have been initially about caregivers, elderly, disabled, and patients. Because what we found and located is this real gap between people who, for example, leave hospitals, people who have become independent, and transitioning back home to normal life and figuring out their new normal, which is an issue that for a long time was really about caregivers, disabled, elders. Now everyone is seeing this issue, right? And so our business comes from serving these communities that have always had this need and have always relied on in-person, nonprofit, volunteer networks that are all in silos. And so what we deliver through the service that we've built is a way to bring all that online and make it incredibly efficient and build on network effects to take caring to a whole new level in this world.
And I'm sorry, who pays for that though?
Is users and services. So we have an incredible amount of services who want to pay us to access this community. It's just as hard for people who provide helpful services, start networks, start nonprofits, and the like to connect with their target market. So think of LinkedIn's model that we often think about. You know, there's a smaller ratio of people who will actually pay for premium membership and for pay per service. There's really a just as large, if not larger, group of users who pay to access their community to get really high-level workers, and we provide high-level volunteers, services, organizations at the local level, which can be very hard to find, and you can't Google it. It's an issue that a lot of nonprofits and cities have been working and trying to deal with for a long time.
So it sounds ambitious and so necessary. Could you give maybe an example or some clarification around like what the market landscape currently looks like? You mentioned a lot of fragmentation and disparate groups that are doing this. So is there any organization or company that is somewhat of the aggregator that you would be? Can you tell us a little bit about that general landscape?
Okay, well, there's just a wide map of people from the nonprofits. There's things called mutual aid networks, I'm sure people have seen, where people are gathering volunteer help with needs, all the way to the Google, Apples, and Facebooks of the world. I know that each of these large companies have their specific focus trying to get this piece of the market. So health tech is hot. But this is a very wide market. There's a room for a lot of people. This is trillions of dollars, this market, depending on what segment you look. It fits a lot of different types of services. I'm really blessed to have co-founders that have a very wide network as well, one of whom is actually leading Google Health product development over at Accenture.
Thank you, Minda. We have time for a very brief question from you, Manal. Sorry that you're third.
No worries. Very quickly, it seems like you already have users on the platform. Can you tell us a bit more about traction?
The platform is actually not officially launched yet. What we have is we're launching in June. We have a bunch of test users in community building, because community building can happen offline. We have a bunch of networks who've been wanting to see this. And so as far as traction, I have lined out the door of people who want to work with us. And just the actual number of users who are testing with us, we have a solid group of people, but our product, since it's not officially launched yet, I don't have real numbers to provide, but in the next month or so, that should change.
Thank you, Minda.
Again, launching in June.
Next up, we have Hamish Dave. Just a note, Stephanie Siri, if you are in the audience, please send a message to the chat so we can put you at the end. But Hamish with Buddha Coffee, you're on.
Thanks. Can you all hear me? All right, excellent. So my name is Hamish, and I'm currently a second-year student at CBS, and I'm building Boda Coffee, which is a direct-to-consumer coffee business. So the coffee supply chain today is very opaque and largely controlled by a few select commodity trading companies, and farmers get a mere 4 cents for every dollar that you spend on your coffee. The US home coffee market is worth $7 billion today, and we're targeting a very small subset of those consumers who genuinely care to know where their food came from. So we're estimating to capture about $400,000 of that market by year 1. We're looking to set aside 10% of all our profits to invest directly into capacity building programs for farmers in Africa, which we expect will increase their earnings by 3 to 4x, depending on the size of their farm. So to begin with, we're going to work with cooperatives to import coffee and reinvest our profits directly with farmers. And as we scale our business, we're looking to buy directly from farmers and leverage blockchain technology to trace the journey of the coffee from bean to cup. So this is a way for us to ensure that farmers are fairly compensated, but also in a manner that's fully traceable by the consumers. So I'm from Africa, and I had extensive coffee experience, having managed a $40 million coffee portfolio on the continent. I want to build this venture primarily to give back to smallholder farmers in Africa. My co-founder also has extensive experience in agriculture in Africa and has worked with the Gates Foundation and the Grameen Foundation. Our ask is to raise $100,000 through a safe note in order for us to help to build our brand and also buy our own roasting equipment. And we're also looking for advisors who have expertise in consumer-facing for-profit social ventures.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I missed the very beginning, but I'm not clear. Are you a direct-to-consumer retail brand, effectively? Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So 2 questions. One is, I live in San Francisco. There's roasters, and I can't keep track of all the different coffees I see every day. So how do you stand out? A lot of them do have sort of impact underlining the core messaging. And 2, how does this scale at a venture level?
Sure. So I think the first one is something that's very interesting. So having worked on the ground, there's a handful of companies that are actually sourcing coffee directly from farmers. And by the time you're buying your coffee up in San Francisco, me in New York, the coffee's changed hands on average 6 times. And every single player within that sort of value chain is retaining some portion, but it's not going to the farmers. So we're effectively trying to shorten the supply chain as far as we can, leveraging from my experience on the ground. in terms of how this scales for a venture, we're looking at our rough estimates at the moment of between 50 and 60% contribution margin. So we're able to easily scale our venture using these funds if we're roasting our own coffee. And then over a period of time, once we do have more and more consumers on board, I think having primary sourcing equipment or primary processing equipment, sorry, on the ground, which we're looking to give to farmers, and so on, would also increase our margin even further.
I really like the way you're looking at building a company that's, vertically integrated, that's cutting out the middleman, that's bringing, more profit to the people at the beginning of the supply chain. Building a brand is definitely a matter of both art and science. Where do you think you need to fill holes in terms of your team or your plan as it currently is? Like what's your biggest threat?
Sure. So at the moment, I think our biggest sort of threat stroke opportunity is really finding someone who can educate consumers. So we've conducted our own survey. We've had over 260 respondents, and correctly, as Keith pointed out, there is some sort of indication of consumers' perception of where their coffee comes from, but the reality from it is far from. So I think really the messaging around about what's really happening within the supply chain and who's winning and who's losing is very vital to the success for our business, and that's a sort of advisory level that we're looking at from a team member.
So very quickly, I'm going to talk more about the customer perspective. So from a customer, like who's your ideal customer? And from a marketing perspective, what type of audience, who's your target audience? How are you trying to market to them? And what type of messaging are you going to put out?
Sure. So I think our target audience, again, based primarily on the survey that we've conducted, is graduates like myself, right? So a lot of people who are coming out of undergraduate or graduate institutions who are becoming more aware or want to become more aware of everything they consume, right down from your clothing to the food that you're eating. And I think there is a movement for more traceability and more transparency within supply chains for all consumer products. So I think that would be our ideal sort of target consumer. In terms of trying to really figure out a quick snapshot, right? So it's the person who's going to buy a Patagonia sweater will buy our coffee for the exact same reasons, right? Having access to the information on the exact process, through which the coffee's gone through, and the players involved, and see exactly using our blockchain technology how much the farmers have actually been paid, versus just hearing. I don't want to bring this up and say it, but having worked in the industry, fair trade isn't really fair trade, and I think it's a broken system. And I do somewhat feel the responsibility to try and make that more exposed through this venture.
Next up, we have Cynthia Lung. Cynthia, are you ready? I'm sorry, I didn't announce. With Salminos.
Hi, can you see me okay?
Yes.
All right, I'll get right into it. Hi everyone, my name is Cynthia Lung and I'm the founder of Salut. Imagine you've just survived an earthquake. You freed yourself from debris and take note of the fact that electricity is out and you need to find a way to contact your loved ones. The roads have been destroyed and there's no way a vehicle can reach you at any time soon. Statistically speaking, in 72 hours, if help doesn't arrive, you'll lose hope that it'll ever come and your chances of survival go down significantly. In Puerto Rico alone, nearly 1 million people were without power for 45 days after Hurricane Maria. And those who were lucky to have diesel generators found that fuel was expensive and limited. And this is where Salut comes in. We're a social venture that exists to provide clean energy to people when they need it and where they need it the most. Our solar charging station consists of a suitcase that holds 5 panels, a battery, and charging ports, and can be wheeled and transported by 2 people. It doesn't require a car to get to where it needs to be. We're in the middle of product development and are looking to use second life batteries and panels to divert precious usable materials from going to the landfill. Our target market is 8 organizations that respond to disasters and have access to disaster aid. Each station can charge up to 20 to 30 devices per day. I recently completed the Rockefeller Acumen Student Accelerator for this idea, and I'm currently a Clinton Foundation CJU commitment maker to conduct the pilot. Our plan is to pilot this summer in Northern California, where me and my co-founder are located, And our plan is to explore the applications for this in the Caribbean to build energy resilience during the hurricane season. We're looking for $20K in seed funding for the product development and pilot. And I thank you for your time and hope that we can show these communities they have not been forgotten.
Thank you, Cynthia. Very tight pitch, and it sounds really interesting. You're building a really complex battery power solution in a suitcase, right?
Yeah.
That's what you said. Talk a little bit, if you can, about who on your team has battery expertise, etc.
Absolutely. Very fortunately, this January, I found my co-founder, who is a storage engineer who has previously worked at Tesla and STEM and at SunPower. And the funny thing is, for my expertise in business strategy and finance, he has all the expertise in engineering that I don't. We found that we work really well together and complement each other on our skill sets, and he's been able to work on the design and engineering of the system.
Yeah, this sounds like it could be used all over the world. Can you tell me a little bit about the competitive landscape, what that looks like, and also how far away are you from having a lighter version that could be held by one person?
Yeah, absolutely. So people who are included in competition are like Goal Zero. They make like portable solar panels for like campers. Energy is another one that does a similar size where it's like a 2.5 kilowatt-hour battery for more of like a larger scale commercial thing or maybe a family. And there's also like a solar suitcase, which is actually a nonprofit that does like medical devices for lights, which is like a handheld version of it. We're currently focused on this larger one because we figured like a 2.5 kilowatt-hour battery would serve for like potentially a refugee camp or a shelter that would be more for the size of an aid organization. And we're targeting that first to see if that product works. And then kind of going back, and this is my co-founder engineer saying like, let's not do 3 products, let's do 1. And then we'll shape it down to like a smaller one if we get there. So it's a great question though.
So my main question was on regarding pricing. Do you already know kind of what range, where you're placing the pricing, and who exactly are you selling to? And that really relates to the issue of pricing. Like, are you selling more to organizations, aid organizations, or directly to consumers?
Absolutely. So our pricing right now is we're a little we're about like $3,000 for each station. I think that can actually be scaled down once we actually can make production for that. But really that's kind of how I look at like if you're absolutely buying this outright. One of the business models we explored was leasing this to aid organizations. So you actually have a payment plan. So they don't have to do one chunk of money, but actually distribute the cost over time, given they have quarterly budgets. And then we were also trying to address the problem that aid organizations, after they leave, tend to leave the devices behind. And for me, I think that's money on the table. So we were exploring the model of leasing it to aid organizations to take care of last mile delivery for the initial deployment of the product. And then working with local community members and organizations to sell them a refurbished product at a heavily discounted price that's actually affordable to them.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you.
We are at the end of the competition here. So I'm just going to give the judges a chance to double check their tallies and just round up the final numbers. And while they're doing that, I just want to thank everyone who took the risk to participate today. It's not easy to get up in front of a live audience, whether it's virtual or in person. And who knows, this might be the way of pitching for a little bit. So it's a great experience. So thank you all for coming out here. Thank you to the judges for being so engaged and enthusiastic in listening to all 10 pitches. And thank you, audience, for joining us tonight. We hope you got something out of it. And last but not least, Diana Rambo and Matan Skolnick, thank you, from the Tamer Center. They are behind the scenes making all of this actually happen. Okay, so it's time to announce our winners. In first place, we have Saluminos with Cynthia Lung. Congratulations. And in second place, we have Boda Coffee with Hamish Dave. Well done to both of you. And honestly, it was a close call. You all did fantastic, and it's just great to get out there and do this. So we'll be in touch with you, Cynthia and Hamish, for your winnings. And I'm going to leave the floor to the judges to say a few final comments on this for anybody who might be just in the audience and wants to pursue social entrepreneurship. Please, judges.
I guess in keeping with tradition, I'll go first. I'll just say thank you for everyone. This is it's a bit of a construct when you have a 90-second pitch. You usually have more than that, but I think one big takeaway is that you always sort of have to treat pitching as a rehearsed sort of artificial exercise in many ways. And the only way to get better at it is to keep practicing. And I can, at least one person's already come back and made some improvements since last time we saw them. So you have to really keep pitching to get better at it. I also just want to offer that if anyone wants feedback on their decks or their pitches or ideas, I'm available to bounce some ideas off if you like.
Yeah, I think the pitches were very interesting, and I think that the fact that some of them address such a specific and niche market, and others like the seatbelts or even coffee address such an enormous market, goes to show that sustainability can be pursued in so many different ways, and that you know, you as a business person need to kind of hunker down and stay focused, whether your market is really niche or whether it is much more expansive. And it was really a pleasure to be part of this. So thank you. And for once, it was nice not to have to be in the pitching seat.
I can totally relate. It's definitely nicer to be on the other end. So thank you to everyone. And it's not easy, especially when it's only 90 seconds. As Keith said, we know it's challenging, but everyone did such a great job today. That was fun. The only thing I'm going to add is everyone clearly has a mission involved that you're really building around. And I know everyone is still very, very early stage, and lots of things will change. So my only advice would be open to pivoting and to changing, probably many times. The only thing that's helpful if you remain true to your mission. So everyone who presented today has a very strong sense of a mission that they're pursuing. Keep that and keep kind of pivoting around that, and that's usually a good way to go. And thanks again.
All right. Well, everyone have a lovely evening, and as you continue your pursuit of a social venture, please look to the Tamer Center for Social Enterprise, as we have a lot of offerings to support those pursuing a career in social entrepreneurship, whether you are starting your own venture or want to work in that space. Have a good evening, and thank you for joining us.